Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back on another Hong Kong content review, continuing on with the Lau Kar-leung series and getting close now to the end of this marathon, which has been a really interesting journey from kind of start and going all the way now to the close to the finish. As mentioned in my previous videos, some of his later movies are starting to get really hard access now. I'm having to really kind of dig a little bit deep to see if I can find these in any kind of format that I can actually watch it in, whether it's a rental DVD kind of thing or basically a rare Blu-ray. Some of these are getting a little bit harder access, and I do have a copy, of course, as the one today for Tiger on the Beat, thanks to the Hong Kong's Legends UK DVD, but Tiger on the Beat 2, there's no access to that, unfortunately. I have nothing for it. Drunken Monkey is a little bit hard access as well. It's the last film, so I'll do the best I can, but any gaps that I can't fill, unfortunately, there's going to be done maybe another point down the line. This one is, of course, Tiger on the Beat. Done by Lau Kar-leung. This is going to the 80s now, full-on 80s. We've experienced a little bit of that already with the previous entries. We are no longer part of Shaw Brothers. We are going into the modern mindset of the modern zeitgeist from the Jackie Chan kind of police procedural Hong Kong movies. Very popular during the kind of the early 80s, going into the mid 80s, where there is an oversaturated market of these. Very similar, as mentioned, to like Shaw Brothers, and I've mentioned this quite a few times on various different videos. Very similar to the business model within kind of mid 80s kind of, Hong Kong movies, the police procedural movies that were throwing in comedy, were throwing in bigger stunts, doing kind of traditional kind of bad guys and good guys with cops and robbers. The In-Line Duty movies covered a lot of this stuff. Thai cage movies. This was definitely a booming market thanks to Jackie Chan and his police story movie, which kind of really paved the way for it. There was many of the films also responsible, but that was the kind of genesis of the beginning of these kind of movies, and the quality is definitely very few and far between with some of them, and I've covered quite a few. Some that I love, some are just straight up disappointing and just kind of mediocre and forgettable. And with Tiger on the Beat, I went in expecting this, and unfortunately I ended up getting this. Tiger on the Beat, released in 1988, directed by Lau Kar-leung, and this is a very different departure from his usual kind of signature films, obviously appealing more to the modern crowd. And as alluded to in my intro, this is about 10%, maybe 15% badass, and the rest of it, 85% straight up slog, awkward comedy, pervy kind of comedy, a bit of a bore fest for most of the film, and surprisingly a good supply of unlikable characters. Chow Yun-fat and his bunch of other characters, police officer characters, and his partner and his informants, and weird kind of love angle that comes out of nowhere, kind of thing where comedy is interjected into these ideas. You've got the traditional police procedural generic storyline, and hey, we need kind of riffs, we need kind of wacky kind of comedy, whether it's slapstick, whether it's kind of pervy comedy at the expense of women characters, or we need just buffoonery. We just need characters saying a lot of crap. We need the film to kind of drag on just to kind of get to the good stuff later on, which we all know we came here for. And this is unfortunately one of them, and I'm a bit disappointed. I'm quite annoyed because Lau Kar-leung is a lot better than this, and I don't know what happened in this film. I know this film has a bit of a cult status, and that is for the chainsaw fight, which I'm going to talk about right now, which is the best part of the entire film. The last half an hour has all the best stuff in terms of the action, in terms of car chase sequences, and some gunplay, and some pretty close combat fights. The chainsaw sequence with Gordon Liu is really fantastic, and I haven't really seen anything quite like that. A little bit within the Protector within Jackie Chan, but we need more of that. I mean, this is definitely pretty much the highlight of the film, and definitely the clip to kind of check out for sure. And despite knowing that going in, that was a scene coming up, I didn't know what the film was. I didn't know what to expect. I knew Lau Kar-leung was a great director, and he knows how to do action, has to do fights. Chow Yun-fat can go one way or the other. I'm realizing more and more as I watch a lot of Chow Yun-fat films. He is started out as a kind of comedic romantic comedy actor. He started out as his bread and butter essentially for the start of his kind of career, and then became the legendary badass status thanks to John Woo and a lot of John Woo movies. And a lot of movies kind of took that and said, hey, we can do our version of that, our knockoff character version. And every time I see something outside of the the killer and hard-boiled, and maybe one or two exceptions here and there that I have talked about and enjoyed. I've not really liked his performance. I've not liked his character. I've not liked how they've used him. And he is very charismatic. He's a very charming person. You can just tell naturally on screen he's enjoying himself. He's enjoying playing the arse character. In this one, again, very similar to what I've seen within City War, for instance, but another similar film during the same kind of time frame. Misogynistic, arrogant, and just a straight up asshole character for most of the film, where I really do think this comes down to the character and the script and what is required for this type of film. And there's a whole subplot with the sister character, which basically ends up becoming an informant for Chow Yun-fat, and the fact that he straight up kicks the shit out of her, slapping her around and really humiliating her and calling her really horrific things. Somehow she's sort of falling in love with him towards the third act. I don't really get that. Really strange kind of angle they play that. And obviously he's just being basically an asshole and just kind of either hurting her or abusing her, calling her a bitch, or sort of making kind of sexualized jokes, and it's just kind of really awkward to watch. And it truly saddens me. This is one of the kind of the final entries of Lau Kar-leung, building up to the last kind of bunch of movies now. I was going into this one with reasonable expectations. I didn't know really what to expect. I've seen some great kind of Chow Yun-fat films, various in kind of quality. I've seen some really terrible ones as well, and unfortunately this one is definitely one of the weaker ones that I've seen of his kind of filmography, and it definitely is one of the worst of Lau Kar-leung in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people will disagree upon that. I know a lot of people definitely like this film for its kind of for Chow Yun-fat just being who he is, and some of the comedy can work for some people, and the action definitely can be a highlight, and the action is pretty goddamn good when it appears, when it shows up towards the end of the film. Well, with this film, I'm not invested in the characters. I don't like the storyline. I don't like the comedy. I don't like the pissing around that happens. The kind of the build up to get to it is just kind of a bit of a slog to get through ultimately. It feels longer than it needs to. And then when you do get the great fight sequences, it's sort of been a bit tainted by the long wait to get up to that point where you kind of realize, oh right, yeah, here we go, I'm here for that scene kind of thing. However, I could be wrong. Please comment down below. What are your thoughts and opinions on Tiger on the Beat? Did you love this film? Is this one of your favorites? What are your thoughts on Tiger on the Beat 2? Is that a better movie? Is that more of a traditional straight to DVD kind of sequel? Love to know your thoughts and opinions, guys. Please comment down below. So in the meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews.